Hello, everyone. Hello. It is me, Alex Nichols from Figure Sales Success Team with another webinar here. Joining me is Tim Rowen. We are both on site here in Texas at a fun event. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Just trying to keep the energy up, and our other teammate Reef is downstairs at a conference vendor alley, if you will. So it's been an eventful, exciting day so far and traveling yesterday. But good stuff. And gosh, we have some really good stuff to talk about today, don't we, Alex? Um,
We do.
yeah, and so we'll dive into it in just a minute, everybody.
Will,
And I'll just
and
give
then
you, are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you just fine.
Okay. I thought for some reason I was hearing some feedback or something. Maybe someone was chiming in. Uh, anyway, just as a quick recap, the last webinar we announced something pretty cool, right, Alex? We announced that the launch of the conditions dashboard for LOs and the ability to upload conditions on behalf of a borrower. We're going to dive back into that because we've expanded it yet again. And most of you as loan originators may have already noticed this, but nonetheless, we want to visit it. But before we get to that, I am pretty excited, Alex, because myself and Anthony Stratus, our Vice President of Lending, have been invited to take part and participate in a momentum builder call next Thursday. So when you send out the follow-up, Alex, I'll make sure that you have the link and the information. I want to encourage everybody, one, love the guys and the whole crew over there at Momentum Builder and what they do. Just a fun series and group of folks to follow. And we love participating and being a part of it. So kind of cool.
Very exciting.
And then, Alex, which you just found out about yesterday, and we're going to be sending out some notifications because we want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to register. But our next webinar, which I'm not staring at my calendar, I don't know what the date is, but not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, right? That's our cadence, as every other Wednesday. We will have a very special guest, won't we, Alex?
We will. We are going to have our CEO on, Michael Tenenbaum. He's going to be on for a lot of really good insight, both into the product and really the company itself, honestly, Tim. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of questions for him. So you are not going to want to miss our next one for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great webinar and just kind of get a feel for what's on the future path, if you will, with all of us here at Figure, how we're going to really lean on continuing to change the way lending is done, right? Alex and everyone listening, I say it all the time, process plus product equals success. And so we really want to encourage everybody to continue to dive into the process, knowing that it will result in the product, and our product mix is continuing to expand as well. So here we are right out of the gate, like shot out of a cannon into 2025. It's like so many things are changing so fast, it's hard to keep up with. But I won't get too carried. Probably too late for that, right? I've probably already gotten us off track here, Alex. But let's dive back into the topic, Alex, of the conditions dashboard for the LO. And as a quick reminder, when we discussed and launched this on the last webinar, the LO now has the ability right from within Lead Portal, and Alex will demonstrate this for you. You'll see a conditions tab, and that conditions tab is for you as loan originators to be able to upload a condition on behalf of a borrower. That's cool, and it's working beautifully, by the way. Alex, I think you've seen some of the numbers. Even before we got the messaging out, loan originators already had discovered this and were uploading. Obviously we don't need much typically anyway, but driver's licenses, certificate of trust, bank statements for account ownership, type of thing. Now the loan officers can upload those on behalf of the borrower as well. Well, now, since that initial launch, now if a borrower goes to upload a condition and it doesn't pass, we'll use the example of the ID, it doesn't pass the digital system. The great news is now the loan originator, all of you, will also receive an email saying, please note, borrower's ID needs to be uploaded. And I think you've got some samples for us, right?
I do, in fact.
And then the loan originator can proactively go in and assist their client and upload the condition on behalf of the client. So pretty stoked. So Alex, it's all you, man. Demonstrate.
Now, I want to reiterate something that Tim was saying, right? On a application where everything is perfect, the borrower goes through, takes 10 or 15 minutes. We don't need conditions. If they enter in the data, everything's looking good on our end. They get it done. We get them in a notary. Life is good. Life is happy. Conditions will appear if something is needed outside of our system. Like Tim was saying, if their ID fails to verify, if we need a marriage certificate, if we need a bank statement for the disbursement account, you will get an email notification, and I'm going to show you a sample of that. Your borrower is going to get notified. You are also going to see that in Lead Portal, and I'm going to show you how that flow works. But this is where you can come in as the loan officer to be their hero and fulfill it on their behalf. So I'm very excited about this, honestly, Tim. This has been a big thing I've been asking for last year, and it is finally here. So I want to go ahead and show this here. We're going to start with the Lead Portal. We're going to start with your side here, is what I should say. So let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. Let me go ahead and pop this over. I am on my fun little MacBook here. There we go. So very first thing out the gate is going to be, well, in Lead Portal, you're going to be able to see what's going on in an application. I know we've covered this a lot, right? We have the details, we have the documents, we have this application progress bar, and this is what we were showing last webinar. On the application progress bar, it's going to show you where they've been. Green is good, right? Kind of like a stop sign. Red is bad. Let's not get red. Don't worry about it. But yellow is where a condition is going to appear. Now, yellow is going to signify, hey, this is where they're at. Some conditions, they can keep going. Some are just going to say, hey, we need additional docs. But you'll see up here at the top, it'll say, hey, conditions are needed. And again, now you're going to receive emails that say, hey, your borrower has these conditions, log in, let's get them solved. So what we can do here, it says conditions needed. I'm just going to go ahead and hit that conditions tab right over here. That's what we're going to be able to see what conditions are pending, what have been complete, what's going on in this file. So in this case, what we need, hey, this is something new I'm showing. We need to confirm the property ownership. For one reason or another, I'll show you in a second what's going on here, but we need to confirm the property ownership. Maybe it is, we have an old doc. Maybe we can pull that online via the system. For one reason or another, through our op center, saying, hey, we need your latest deed. We need a transfer document, something of that nature, so we can go ahead and verify. And Tim, I think you can agree, loan officer would probably be the one to get this more than the borrower.
Hands down. And Alex, I just want to tell you right now, this is possibly one of the greatest examples you could have ever used, because all of the loan originators that are on the call, you can give us a thumbs up when I make this statement. There is a very good chance that when a borrower receives this type of notification, they're not quite sure what to do. They don't know what to provide. LOs do not, I mean, not LOs, homeowners don't understand, if I'm being honest, this type of verbiage. And what do? They reach out to you, the LO, and say, hey, we just received a notification. We have to upload our latest deed. Now, this is where you come into play. And I'm going to hit this from two perspectives here, Alex, both from a perspective of being able to upload the condition and also a perspective of a great business practice. And I've said this in the past, but loan originators, anytime you run an inquiry, please, as a best practice, you're not required to do this, but please, as a best practice, take a couple minutes if you have the ability from a different source and pull a property profile. Why? You'll see exactly how title is held. Is it joint, single, in a trust? At least then you can set the right expectation for the borrower. Now, if you get to this and this condition pops up, you, the loan officer, will now be notified. Please upload your borrower's latest deed. That's also the same thing you would do. You would go into a third-party system where you pull property profiles and you'd get a copy of the most recent recorded deed. Very, very simple, very, very quick for you and for me, but not very, very simple and very, very quick for the homeowner on this condition in particular. So Alex, I love that you use this as an example. So yes, loan originators, take advantage of this enhancement, because I think it, well, I don't think, I already know this has made a significant improvement in the workflow.
Yes, and even we can see in the verbiage here, it says, hey, if their name is changed from what's reflected on the deed, upload a documentation of a name change, such as marriage or divorce documents. So again, really something you should dive into. Really what's happening on the back end there is our system is saying, hey, there's some sort of discrepancy. It's saying, hey, something's going on. That's where our operations team goes in, and they're not going to make assumptions. They're simply saying, hey, we need the latest one to see what's going on. Because maybe, and it happens to where our property vendors are just pulling outdated documents, or quite simply, it could just be we can't pull those documents online in some counties. So this is really, again, just like Tim was saying, do a lot of this headway. And all you need to do here, you don't even need to select the document type in this one. You just drag or drop it in. And then once you hit submit for review, it'll go ahead and send that over. So we can even look at this. We can go ahead and put in our little fun thumbnail today. I'm just going to do this on this test example, but I'll show you once I hit submit for review, what that's doing is it's going to clear the condition. It's going to send that document over to our operations team so that they can review it. And then they can go through and either just clear up the discrepancy on the back end or request additional documentation if that wasn't sufficient. But usually what's going to happen there is that is all we need. We just need someone on the back end to take care of it. We're good to go.
So
And you
this
can
is a great.
here, you
Yeah,
even just go
so
on.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there,
Oh no,
Alex.
go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm kind of famous for doing that.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
not
yes.
really sorry. Anyway, it's really important to note that, okay, you just uploaded a condition and just, it says cleared, but we just saw you upload a picture of you and me into there. And we know, of course, that that didn't actually clear. What cleared was the upload. And to Alex, to your point, I just really want to drive this home. This
Mhm.
now triggers our team behind the scenes to now go in and review said condition. Now, once that condition is in fact cleared, well, the borrower and the loan officer, any status updates, those were already working and turned on for our loan originators and the borrower. So what would happen is they would just be notified then to go to the next stage, right? To then just continue through the rest of the process. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, do you have any samples of what those emails might look like going to an LO's inbox?
Oh, you know I do. Here we go. So this is directly in my own email inbox. What's going to happen here is that you're going to receive more or less a generic condition email. And so what this is going to tell you is going to say, hey, in this case, hi, Alexander. Your borrower, Carlos, in this case, has a new condition associated with their application. So you're going to have to log in. You will have to check. It's going to give you that loan ID number so that you can see. You can search either by the borrower, obviously, or the loan ID. And in Lead Portal, it's going to give you that more information on what that condition is. So anytime there is a new condition, you are automatically going to receive this email for you to check to see, all right, what outstanding conditions are there on my borrower's application.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, for your borrower themselves, I want to show this as well. This is what is going to look like as they're going through the flow. So your borrower is also going to receive emails as well, basically saying, hey, we're going to need this document. We may need this information. They're going to receive emails from us as well. And then on the actual application, at the top right, there's a little bell icon here. I kind of did this backwards. I shouldn't have cleared that condition because what would have happened here is that you would have had a pop-up alerting the borrower saying, hey, we need a property deed for that example. Click here to upload it. And there would be a little red exclamation there for them. So if there's ever a condition, and probably the most common one is their ID failed to verify, they're
Right.
going to have a direct alert on their application where they can go ahead and upload that. So it is something your borrower can fulfill themselves if it's something they have offhand, like the ID, something they can do quickly. So they're still going to have the ability to fulfill those conditions on their own. But of course, you're going to be alerted and you're going to be able to then fulfill it for them. And I do not want to open Spotify. There we go.
Yeah, no, Alex, everybody in attendance, I think this is great news. And Alex, you said something very interesting before you showed the example of that. You said you and I, of course, and the rest of the team, we've been pushing and asking for this for quite some time. I want to take it one step further. The reality is, Alex, which is the most important piece here, is our partners and LOs have been asking for this function. So
Mhm.
some of you have heard me say this before. You spoke, we listened. And so as you continue to see areas where you've believed that there could be an enhancement, please, please, please let us know. Can we make it happen overnight? Probably not. But do we want to hear about it and see how we can adjust that lead portal and inquiry tool platform? Absolutely, we do. So, and we did a recap of the year already, and I don't need to, beat that back up on this webinar, but we've made tons of enhancements, and it's important to note that they're all the result of feedback from our sales partners. So keep the feedback coming is really the messaging there. And
And I
Alex,
wrote our email in the chat
in
as
the chat,
well. For
excellent.
those on LinkedIn, it is salessuccess@figure.com. And I will be sending out an email afterwards with a ton of information and that email as well. So feel free to email us.
So this webinar is a little bit shorter just by its very nature, and we're on the road, but we wanted to cover this. We do have some more big things coming. We already talked about our special guest, our CEO, Michael Tannenbaum, being on with us on the next webinar. Please don't miss that. It's going to be huge. I think we're going to, very podcast fashion, learn a lot about our CEO, as well as a lot more about what's going on behind the scenes at Figure. So I'm pretty excited, Alex. If I'm being honest, maybe a little bit nervous too. You know.
You're Tim Rowen. You got this. Don't you worry.
Right.
I should be the one who's nervous.
But I do want to dive into some Q&A here real quick, because that's one of the best parts, in my opinion, of the webinar is the Q&A. And the first question right out of the gate is a great one. The question is, when a customer pays down their balance significantly, does the payment adjust down or does it stay fixed based on the entire limit? It is a great question, and I'm so glad you've asked it. Here's the response. Anytime 10% or more of the principal balance is paid down, automatically the payment will recast based on the balance owed. So give me a thumbs up there, anonymous user, who, if that answered your question. Hopefully that was very clear. But again, if 10% of the principal balance or more is paid down, it will automatically recast the payment on the loan. So
I love these emojis, everyone.
yeah, right. And then Rose asked the question, are borrowers able to see the credit report that we pull? To the best of my knowledge, Alex, no, but you might have a different take on that.
It's a good question, Rose. So, borrowers more or less, again, it's an initial soft credit pull. They're going to see that if they do look at their Experian report. It'll show, but they're not going to have a full credit report from us. It's not going to be like in the documentation, if that is the question itself. So, again, just a soft pull through Experian. You as a loan officer, you'll be able to see the FICO score, but neither you nor the borrower are going to get a full credit report. That would just be something they probably have to contact Experian for.
How about at the point of hard credit after income is verified, Alex, which the borrower's
They
driving?
they will actually get a credit report from that. And in fact, there is a document during note signing that they're going to agree to about the credit report, and it's going to give them that information. So that's a very good point, Tim.
Fantastic. So hopefully
Yeah.
that answered that question. And I love this next question. Again, another anonymous attendee here. When can we expect an integration with Total Expert? Now,
We were
Alex,
just talking about this.
we were just talking about this. And so let me give everyone an update on that. We are very, very close. We actually have one API already built. Assuming your borrower already lives in Total Expert, we have an API that we can launch that will then, when they do a figure loan with you, it will then update an existing borrower record. That is built. We're ready to go. We have not launched it yet because we want to add one other element, and that's the organic element. Let's assume it's a borrower new to you, new to us. They do not exist in your Total Expert. That's the API we're working on currently, to where your new borrower will feed that data into your Total Expert. And we're a few weeks away from that, but this is high on the priority list, and getting higher and higher, I might add. So thank you for answering the question. Please stay tuned to webinars, updates, newsletters. We will, Alex and I and team will be screaming this at the top of our lungs when we get to that point, but it is coming in full fashion very, very soon.
Now, Tim,
Go ahead.
there is a great question here from Marcus. Marcus asked an income verification question. If a borrower uploads a pay stub to verify their income, does that exclude the option to verify additional household income via bank plaid deposit verification? And I really like this because I want to make this kind of like a really blanket answer here, is that they're going to be given the different methods. They're not going to be discluded from any one, but the methods don't stack. We're going to take the highest of the two. So if they are going to upload their pay stub, maybe their spouse's pay stub, let's say, and they do link, say, their checking account, whatever one is the highest, we're going to take that for income verification.
So I want to dive into that just a little bit further, Alex, and just make sure that we're all clear on this. Oh, Reef's actually joining us. Check this out. He's he's not at his conference table anymore or something. I don't know. Um, anyway, let's dive into this a little bit further. I want to make sure that we're getting to the root of the question. The question, I believe, and Marcus, let us know if I'm on track here. Marcus is saying, borrower, we'll just say the husband in this case, is the one single only primary borrower we have. They have uploaded their pay stubs, but they're in a spousal and community property state. Therefore, we can use spousal income, but they're linking a bank statement for the spouse. Will the two combine to give one total income verification or no?
No. So what's going to happen there is, again, it's going to take the highest of the two. So joint checking, absolutely. I see this happen as well with individuals who say link up their checking, but then want to include, say, a spousal pay stub is usually the way in reverse. So again, it's going to take the higher of the two. Really important to me. So if it's a situation like this and they're not verifying enough, I usually recommend taxes because most couples will file jointly. But again, they can try every single method that's available to them. Multiple checking accounts too, multiple like let's say pay stubs, but it will out of those methods take the highest out of
Yeah,
both.
and by the way, another great example of that, which we don't want to forget, is if in that situation, Marcus, the clients are married and they happen to also file their tax returns jointly, and most married couples do, but you'd ask the question, then the way to deal that would just be to link to the tax transcripts. Not upload tax returns, want to be clear, but link to tax transcripts. And we have full, even borrower-facing tutorials on this. So, Marcus, definitely reach out to the team if you want to dive in any further. If you work in an office environment with other salespeople and you want us to jump on a sales call and walk through some of that, we may not say it enough, but we are definitely here for that and anxious to do
Mhm.
that and support you all. So, um, do we have any other options if client is unable to link small credit union bank? I'm assuming, Cesar, that you are asking the question based on income verification. And yes, we absolutely do. We will review actual pay stub and award letter documents. Those are the things that we will actually review, meaning upload the borrower or you now could upload and we would review. And then also tax transcripts, which I just mentioned a moment ago as well. By the way, on the tax transcripts, it's kind of cool because we're only going to look at the most recent tax year. As an example, we're in 2025, but 2024 is not required to have been filed yet. So we're going to use the 2023 tax transcripts, just
Mhm.
the most recent required filing, not 2 years, not looking at decreasing income, not averaging, none of that, just the one most recent required filings. So that might be, yeah, go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry.
One thing I did want to interrupt you on is the fact that to add to that as well, Caesar, if they're unable to link a small credit union bank, and this is for disbursement, they can put in an account and routing number. That's perfectly fine. We're going to request a bank statement just for a quick review. That's where a condition would come into play. But if they verify their income and they go to link up and it's not listed, they just enter their account and routing number and we're good to go.
I love that you said that, Alex. I wasn't even thinking down that path, but you're right. It may have nothing to do with income at all. So again, the borrower can manually enter their disbursement and payment account info. Alex mentioned that they would be conditioned to upload a bank statement. Do not confuse that this request because of income. If we're requesting a bank statement, it's to evidence ownership of said account. That's it, not break it down with income. So
Mhm.
and I love this statement here, basically. Casey says, my company works with Figure via a white label. Do these emails, meaning the notification emails, condition emails, and everything still work like normal, or is there a different process? It all works like normal, Casey. The only difference being is in that white label partner space, it's actually going to be branded to you. That's the point, right, of the white labeling. So
Yeah, I just showed like a little test example in my test thing. You're going to have an actual branded email, your name, your borrower's name, obviously, all that information on there.
by the way, I don't know if I think we're headed down the path of that getting ready to happen in a lot of our channels, right, Alex,
Mhm.
with the
Yes.
actual partner branding. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming as well.
That's going to be a webinar soon, I think, Tim.
Now, this is a secondary question to the question answered asked earlier, and it is, will the loan recast again on the next 10% pay down, or will it do it just once? So I get $100,000, I pay off, $15,000, the loan recasts, then I pay off another $15,000. Does it recast again?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what's going
Anytime,
to happen?
right? Yeah.
So yeah, so when it's a larger payment like that, it is going to happen. That is something where, again, if they're doing it and it's at 10% or more. So on their online account, they're, because they could just log into their online account, they can make additional payments. They can make larger payments on, say, their monthly if they want to pay it down sooner. But just keep that in mind, right? They can make those large payments. It'll automatically recast. Boom, they free up that available credit if they're in their draw term. Makes it pretty easy.
Yeah. So next question is, again, anonymous user, what are the related fees and how much? By the way, you may want to reach out to us offline because it can differ a little bit depending on what partnership model you work in. But the only thing that differs would be the figure origination fee. The only costs we have associated with the file are the figure origination fee. And I'll just make a blanket statement. It can be anywhere between 1.99 and 4.99, just depending on the model in which you work. And there's a whole definition of that we'd have to dive into offline. But outside of that, it's notary and only if an in-person notary is needed. Is that right, Alex?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So
So
that's
if
it. There's no escrow, none of that. No appraisal fee. The AVM's done at point of inquiry, as most of us, I'm
Mhm.
sure, all know. And then Tiffany asks, this is interesting. She pulled credit with a loan program and the buyer score came in the high sevens. But this is very interesting. When she pulled the credit through our figure report, it was at 625. And the question is are we using a mortgage report? The answer is we are using a single bureau Experian FICO 9. Now, why this is so interesting, Tiffany, and again, I maybe need to dive into this a little bit further. I have not seen that much disparity in this regard. This is actually for me in my first year and a half here at Figure. That's the first time I've had that. Oh, it's one thing for FICOs to be within a couple points of one another, but what you're bringing up here, Tiffany, is very interesting. That's like a 75-point swing, maybe even a 100-point swing. So, is that common, Alex or Reef? Do you have any feedback on that outside of what my take?
No, I would look into that. This is something that I have heard, not this big a swing. It definitely is something to say, hey, we do the FICO 9, just like Tim said, so there can be a bit of a difference if you were expecting maybe another score. But it could be something that you do reach out offline with us. Maybe we look into because I haven't heard of something that large of a disparity.
Yeah. So Doug asks, when will our rates become more competitive? It's a great question. I'll be honest with you, when you really compare apples to apples, and I've done this in depth, some of you may know me enough to know that I'm a huge mortgage coach user. I watch any what we would say competitors' rates. And really, when taking all things into consideration, it's really not the disparity you think. Now, that can change based on FICO and CLTV and so on and so forth. Now, I will tell you what we did do over the last couple weeks, and I could talk to this for a couple minutes anyway, team, is we aggressively lowered pricing on first lien HELOCs. Now, why is that important? It's important for all of us on this call because in the real loan world, Fannie, Freddie, agency loans, it's not uncommon to run into loans that honestly, it's very tough for us to do from a compliance perspective. High cost rules, high cost tests. We then have to flip it to borrower paid. We have to lower the borrower paid comp. And I'm talking real loans, not figure. I'm talking, the normal traditional loan process. And some of you may agree, those loans end up being loans that we either cannot do because of regulations, or in fact, we do them as losers. So what we've done is we've aggressively adjusted our pricing on first lien HELOCs because we don't have to fit into that same compliance bucket and that type of thing. Now, I have myself personally brought up to the capital markets team and stuff. Is there potentially a path we could go down in flipping to a borrower paid scenario? It gets a little tricky because you already have figures origination fee, which is in fact borrower paid added to the loan amount. And then you have the lender paid compensation on the back side. So in theory, if you guys follow the logic here, you'd have to still have figure origination fee plus LO compensation origination fee. And at that point, I think we would definitely run into some high cost issues. But it is something that I have brought up to the secondary team and capital markets. So we'll see. Right now, I don't see it on a build out sheet. But really think about comparing apples to apples when with all costs associated, interest rates associated, pick someone else. Now, credit unions, I'm hearing stories out there of credit unions that, advertise rates that are quite honestly lower than Fannie and Freddie. I don't quite know how they're doing it, but credit union, as we've all dealt with as originators, can be an interesting uphill comparison there. So, and then Al asks, I might have missed this, but what is the minimum credit score that is acceptable? It is 640 on primary residence, Al, and 680 on investment. So that's good. And then I understand that 10% payment or more automatically recast the payment. Now, if a client makes a payment of less than 10%, can they request a recast? I don't believe so, but Alex, you may know.
No, not on a smaller amount like that. It would have to be 10% or more.
Okay.
I believe they can request that it doesn't recast if they make a large payment, something of that nature. But for smaller ones, 9% and under, it's going to remain the same. Just keep that in mind.
I love this next question. And by the way, an anonymous attendee. And so please, 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 anonymous attendee, reach out to our team. I would like to schedule some time with you, especially on this total expert question. And that is, what about reactivity with total expert? In other words, when you all are using a journey around this topic and a borrower clicks on something, will it stop the journey? Will it? The answer is yes. We've actually worked very closely with Total Expert in helping build journeys. And Alex and Reef, you guys are probably not as aware of this as I am. I'm very, very aware of Total Expert and how it works. Great tool, by the way. So yes, the journey would stop if a borrower takes a particular action, or the journey would continue. Now, there's one step that I will tell you that I'm personally working on, and here's what I've labeled it. I've said it's a soft handoff. So let's say that a borrower clicks on the link, they apply for the line of credit, but they don't receive any offers. At that point, I'm trying to add to said journey a soft handoff. Wait, don't give up just yet. Reach out to your loan officer, as there might be another option for you. That to me is the next piece of this as we get ready to go live. And I love that this user asked the question and finished it by saying, trust with our clients. That's so important. And I love that you brought that up. So thank you for that. And again, please reach out to the team. And actually, if you use the sales success email and you want to get directly to me, I see those emails as well. But Alex and Reef both can get me involved directly on that topic. So when might we have the option to select multiple accounts to pay down in order to help lower DTI? Well, that exists today. You can select up to 3. However, that was fine right up until we added paying off credit cards and giving DTI credit when that was the case. And then all of a sudden we realized, wait, we need to be able to pay off more than 3. And I am happy to report the team is working on it. In fact, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, you'll see that we've expanded it beyond that. So great question. So it's coming beyond 3 for DTI lift. You can pay off as much stuff as you want. It's just you're only going to get DTI credit for up to 3 trade lines. If a borrower uploads a pay stubs, but there's no direct deposits of payment, will pay stubs alone satisfy? Yes. We do not need a combination of both. If they only have pay stubs and they can't link to a bank account or whatever the case is, pay stubs will suffice just fine. Oh, this is interesting. Client submitted a pay stub and was informed yesterday to submit a 2023 W-2. By the way, I'm going to ask Alex and Reef to dive in on that because I'm not aware of that. But which he did last night. What is the time frame for reviewing the W-2? Is there a way for me as a loan officer to see the status indicating that it's under review? Well, you would see it hung out in income review is what you would see as a loan officer. But Alex, Reef, talk to me.
Let me elaborate on this one. So very
W-2?
Very specifically, right? We don't have any underwriters, so we would not be requesting a W-2 document to review. So I think there maybe have been a miscommunication very specifically because the way someone gets their income in general reviewed is going to be connecting via the automated system. So, for example, right, with taxes, they link up tax preparer service or an irs.gov account. That takes literally a minute or two. They just need that username and password. So we are currently, yes, accepting 2023s. With 2023s, they need to either link that tax preparer or irs.gov account on the application. And then what that's going to do is it's going to pull in that information, it's going to analyze it, and in a minute or two, it's going to kick back that income that's been verified. You'll see that information on Lead Portal, how much they verified. The borrower will see it. Once they verified enough, they can continue on. So I think there's probably some form of miscommunication with our team, maybe in the way we communicated that.
If it's
I'd
our
say we can
team,
dive
Alex, my
into it.
concern there is that it might actually be elsewhere. Because I'm not aware of us reviewing or even asking for W-2s at all. That's my
Yeah, no underwriters to review them. Don't have me do it. Pay someone to do
So
it.
definitely don't have Alex review your
Yeah,
W-2s.
I'm looks. I'm not brains.
Another great question here. Will we have options for banks that don't connect via Plaid like BMO or Fidelity? Some only have their banking through them. The answer is yes. It's actually being worked on right now, where we'll have an additional outlet outside of Plaid. And the reason I know this is I was on a call with the credit team earlier this week. I don't have a date for you all yet, but this was one of the topics of conversation, in particular to Fidelity. And so, yeah, we're working on it. So again, just keep your eyes and ears close to all the news coming out. So, and then Alex or Reef, I don't know if you have this right off the top of your head, but Chapter 11, 13, bankruptcy is the question. How do we handle that? I'd have to dive into the guides myself to see what our time frame is on that. But
5 years, right, Reef?
Correct. Yeah, 16 months.
Perfect. And after that, they're golden.
Oh, gosh. Can we develop better options for clients that have their business and personal accounts linked under one bank login? Currently, it gives them 0 when they are both linked in the same login.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, boy, I don't know if I know. I don't have a great answer for that. I really don't. It does come up, though, quite a bit. So, Reef, actually, can you maybe make a note on that? And let's just ask the question and see in those scenarios. And honestly, if you guys can just reach out to the team, especially if we have files to use as examples, inquiries, that helps us a ton when we push back up to the credit and product team. So that would be help. Yes, no appraisals. AVM applies to homes valued over 1 million. Now there might be something there that triggers a drive-by. Is there a threshold on that, you guys?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, I've seen AVMs that we've used over 1 million.
Yeah, I'm working with one right now. It's a $5 million home. We did the AVM just fine. So we do drive-bys usually in scenarios where no AVM is available and we can do them. Or currently in the case of fires in California. But just no physical in-person appraisals, doesn't cost the borrower anything, so on and so forth. So it makes it pretty easy. Get out there, make money on those $1 million homes.
Right, for sure. Help as many people as you can. That's my take.
Exactly.
Husband and wife are on the first lien. Figure approval is in the husband's name. Again, that's a great point because we only ever have one borrower. Can the wife be included on the loan? I'm going to change your verbiage on that here in just a second. And at what point is escrow to be notified? There's so many things to answer here. So number one, the borrower, the spouse, the wife in your scenario, will absolutely be added as an additional signer, but not onto the loan. We're not going to pull that additional signer's credit or anything of that nature. Okay. So they will be right at the end when they get ready to schedule for notary. The system will see that the borrower is married. The system will see the title that they hold it jointly or in trust or whatever. And then your primary borrower, the husband in your scenario, would be conditioned or asked to complete the additional signer info, which is where you'd put in his spouse's name, contact information, including email, and then upload that additional signer's ID. And the only other one thing, and you finished the question, great question, by the way. And at what point is escrow informed to include her? Hey, there's no escrow. So escrow won't be notified because there is no escrow, but the borrower is notified right at the point when they're trying to schedule the notary. So, Alex, you take the next one here.
Coward. All right. If we are using stated income from a self-employed borrower and they have an investment property on their credit report, how do you offset the rents? My prospect file was declined due to DTI was too high, due to no rents were taken into consideration. So, couple things to note there. So number one, stated income when you put in on the inquiry can include things like other income. I do get this a lot when it comes to things like rent, rental income, things of that nature. I want to tackle this in a couple forms. Number one, biggest thing is it depends on how they get that income coming in. And it depends on how we can verify that. So I've had that before, talking to a lot of loan officers, right? And maybe their borrower gets rental income and the like. Again, we don't do business checking. Taxes are usually the best bet if they can claim that. It just depends. I mean, if they're getting cash, if they're getting Zelle, sometimes these things can be a bit hard to verify. But it is something that when you're putting in their income, you do want to put in the full total annual income gross and any other income they may have. And they can get to that point where they can link that up. Now, when it comes to things like DTI, we're going to take into consideration the revolving monthly payments reported by Experian. So we're going to do that soft credit pull. We're going to take a look at those and also into consideration what you're going to report for that stated total. So again, really having a conversation. It really comes down to, how they can get that verified, what method they're going to use. But I would state that full income on there just so it can do then that calculation on DTI versus the revolving monthly payments.
By the way, Alex, if there are rents being collected, regardless of through a property management company, if they're getting their money through Venmo or Zelle or whatever the case is, you kind of talked about the differences there. Don't forget, folks, if you know, and you most of you do, your borrowers very, very well, and the rents are being reflected on their tax transcripts, then link the tax transcripts.
Yeah. Yes.
That is your path there, because it's possible that the bank statements won't pull up rent deposits, especially to Alex's point, if they happen to be cash, Zelle. Now, interestingly enough, if it's coming from a property management company, the source and the cadence are identical. Hopefully everyone acknowledges what I'm saying there. You see what I mean? So it's the source of the deposits and it's the cadence of the deposits. So if it's coming from a property management company, make sure you list the rents in the rent box separate from the income.
Yeah, you'll have that other income section. And honestly, Tim, this is my golden rule. If you have a self-employed borrower, have them link their taxes. That's usually going to be the way they get verified.
Agreed. I don't disagree with you, Alex. The world and the day in the life of an originator, which I know and love all too well, is what we all know as originators is that self-employed borrowers and tax transcripts. Let me say it like this. A borrower will say, well, I make $500,000 a year. Great. But they file their taxes and they pay taxes on $50,000 a year. And the minute you link to tax transcripts, that's the number we're going to end up using, right? So it's a catch-22 there. It's not the strength for us, for sure. We're constantly working on getting better income calculations, that type of thing. But for rents, especially if they're on tax transcripts, use them. Use that as a way to link the income. By the way, it's important to note on the income. Hear me out here, everybody, and Alex and Reef, keep me honest here. If I, as a borrower, go in and I link to my Plaid account, I said I make $200,000 a year, and it says, oh, you link to your account, you make 120. And then I upload pay stubs, and it says I make 130. That's the number we're now using, right? And now I say, you know what? I'm just going to link to my tax transcripts, and my tax transcripts say I make 200. Which of those numbers is our system going to use?
200.
200. It's going to use the highest number. So the borrowers can link as many income sources as they want, everybody, and our system is going to use the highest number. By the way, it's important, just kind of helping control and create the narrative here. In the real agency lending world, if I submit to an underwriter pay stubs that show someone's making 100,000 and their tax returns show that they're making, whatever, we're going to be forced to using the lowest amount of income. So that's actually a plus for us. So just know that the income doesn't stack, but we will use the highest number verified.
Yes. And then We have another really good question here. Nima asks, when someone pays the HELOC entirely back, does that close out the HELOC? It does not unless they want it to. So as if they're in that draw term where they can keep doing redraws, it'll remain open. If they want to close it, they just call servicing, request it to be closed. Pretty simple. But just keep that in mind, you know, they'll have that available credit to pull from for the entirety of their draw term.
So many questions. I
I
love it.
know. These are really good questions, everyone. Really, really good questions.
No,
Well,
they're really good. And by the way, I really need, I'm making the assumption that the anonymous attendee here is one and the same person, and they're asking some great questions. I really want you to reach out to our team, please. I want to learn some stuff from you and take some stuff to heart here. But this is a great point, and I've actually heard this before, and I love this because you've asked the question specific to a state, and the question is for HELOCs in Florida, the figures we provide, which again is the figure company origination fee and notary, it does not include any additional mortgage tax and intangible tax fees, and that can happen, and it's different all the way down to the county level. Is that right, Reef? Have you seen? And Alex, yeah. So is there a way to incorporate those costs into the pricing tool? In other words, at point of offer, so that the loan originator is more accurately setting a stage for the borrower. By the way, this is great feedback, and I would love to, again, use some actual real-time examples of this. And by the way, we could probably go find some and we can dig into it with the credit team and I can start digging into reporting. But if there's any way we could connect and take a couple looks at these Florida files and get into the weeds with them, and then it makes it easier for us again to kind of escalate. But I love that. That is a great point, and I totally get it from a loan originator perspective. So it's okay if it's repetitive. This next question, you've started off the question that way, and yes, it's okay. That's why we're here. The payment doesn't go down as you pay the balance down every month, only if they make the 10%. That's correct. The payment doesn't recast every month when they make a payment, not unless they're making an 11% payment every month. 11% of the balance every month, 10% or more. So no, it doesn't go down every month. And I love this question. Also, anything in our pipeline regarding paying off a second lien? Yes, it's coming. It is coming. We have
very
it.
soon.
We have it built. It's actually being tested. We have started this process by giving the option to pay off existing figure HELOCs. We have started to test this through a direct-to-consumer channel. It's a smart, very small aspect of what we do. But we are in test with that right now, and we will be expanding existing lien payoffs beyond just figure HELOCs. So I would it'll happen this quarter, let me say it that way, and there's a good chance that we have it by next month. So I know that's running up against the end of the quarter, but it's coming. So
now there's two really good questions here from Nima. I want to tackle this all in one go here. More or less, the question comes down to how redraws work with the amortization versus, say, like a traditional HELOC, as well as the draw period. So what I really want to do is paint you a picture on how redraws work. They are going to first have a full disbursement required. They're going to get that full amount up front. There's no fees for redraws. There are no prepayment penalties. I would check internally on any EPO policies for, say, compensation clawback, but for the borrower, no prepayment penalties. So they're going to have an online account on, say, like their phone. They log in, they go, all right, great. I'm going to see how much available credit I have. I'm going to be able to see today what the fixed rate would be. Because first and foremost, every single draw is going to be its own fixed rate. There's going to be a rate floor and a rate ceiling in their HELOC agreement that it's going to fall under. It's going to be prime plus margin for the any further redraws, I should say. But they can log in, they can check. They'll say, this is how much available credit I have. This is what the fixed rate would be. And there's always one monthly payment. So if they make a selection, hey, I want $10,000, let's say on a redraw. Great, this is what your monthly payment's going to update to because it's going to re-am it out to the remainder of the term. So they could have a monthly payment and it's going to be broken down potentially with multiple draws at different fixed rates for each draw. So that initial fixed rate's not going to change for the full disbursement, but potentially on redraws, those can be different fixed rates depending on that floor and ceiling. Now, with that also in mind, there are different draw periods. So for a 30-year term, there's a 5-year redraw period. First 5 years, redraw as much as they like. After that, they just make their monthly payments. For a 15-year, 4 years, 10-year, 3 years, 5-year, 2 years. I can send out information in the email about this, in fact, so you'll have the chart. But just know that they'll have that draw period from there, and that's something that they can, hey, they draw from here, and then otherwise it'll all just be the simple, hey, I'm going to do the monthly payments, and they can pay it off early if they like to.
Love it. And Jeffrey asks, just to clarify, that only pay stubs without linking bank accounts and or tax transcripts, not returns, Jeffrey, will suffice. So again, only pay stubs will suffice. Just to clarify, the answer is yes. Now they have to, and I'm going to make this statement. So they have to actually be pay stubs. So please don't make pay stubs. So I've seen it. I hate saying it, but I've seen it. And so I hate thinking that that still exists in our lending environment today, but unfortunately it does from time to time. But yes, we will review pay stubs for income without any additional sources beyond that. Oh, if a spouse is not on title, they cannot apply as the primary applicant. How long do they need to be on title before they can apply?
So very specifically, yes, they have to be on title for you to run an inquiry, or some of you maybe send your link. Very specifically, 90 days. So for any title changes, it's 90 days. So if they're not on there, you can, they could be added, let's say. They'll have to wait 90 days, then you can get them started on there, but they have to be on title.
Oh, what income do we use for Social Security only? Two pieces there. One, we will review award letters. So you could simply upload award letters just like you would a pay stub. But in most cases, Social Security income is being auto deposited into their bank account. So if the bank account will link with Plaid, definitely that's your path. It is your fastest path. But we will review award letters. Again, pay stubs and award letters. We will physically review. And then Nima asks, what if someone wants their spouse on the HELOC with them? Can they be added? What if the person passes away? What happens? The spouse is always an additional signer. They're not on the note. They're again, we don't pull credit or anything of that nature, but they are the additional signer. They're a title owner of the property. And as a result of being spouses, they will be an additional signer. I hope that answers the question, Nima. Does the new system and attachment link use or link? Oh no. And Alex and Reef, and I might be making an assumption here, but have either of you ever heard of LoanBeam?
No.
Reef? No. I'm aware of it. And LoanBeam is a platform where loan originators can upload tax returns and it will calculate the income for them.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And we don't use LoanBeam. Glenn, don't ask which one. I'm scared to death he's going to ask what we do use now, but I'm not quite sure what that algorithm is in the tech.
I could tell you, but just very specifically too is we're constantly making improvements to income verification, and I believe we're also going to be getting a new vendor at a certain point. So look for constant improvements there. Just no LoanBeam at this time.
Yeah, Glenn makes a couple of great comments here. It's dangerous to pay zero on HELOCs, and I assume, Glenn, you're talking about paying them down to a zero balance. That's my assumption. Yeah, I mean, there's some debate, right, and strategies to be had there. So you're not wrong, Glenn. I think it depends on every client as to what they're looking to get done. And then Glenn also says reverse mortgages does not work to zero. It will close. Why pay to zero versus leave $50? That's a great point, especially in a reverse mortgage scenario. If AVM doesn't find a value, it appears to reduce the stated value by 25% or whatever, but will it close with that or also do a drive-by required as well? Okay, a great question. Marshall asked the question. And if an AVM, there's no results, our system will then trigger what we call the BPO, but it's a drive-by. And when it triggers that, you then, the loan originator, will be asked to estimate the value. Now, I'm not aware of a 25% knock on that. Are you guys?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So again, I'm not sure, Marshall, where you're running into that, but if no AVM results are found, it will trigger that BPO/drive-by process where you then will be asked to estimate the value. That will then trigger the ordering of the drive-by and then goes in. But I'm not aware of any policy where we haircut it.
We do,
We?
gentlemen. Yeah, it's usually 10%,
Okay, great. Thank you, Reef.
not
I wasn't
25,
aware of that.
of course. Yeah, no worries.
Oh, how do we find out if a state is homestead or community property?
I will send out a document
Yeah.
and information in the email
Yeah. I was
afterwards.
just going to say, I'm happy to report Alex has a great document that lists that in spousal income states, both. And he's done, Alex, I'll just say you've done a great job on that because it's got a green check mark with a block of all the states that are homestead and community property. And then it's got a red check mark on the handful that don't.
I'm a graphic designer.
Oh, so actually, Reef, I'm going to let you take this one. Marshall
Yeah,
brings.
it was.
Yeah.
I was gonna
So
say it's the same one. It's the same one. It does do the 10%
it's
haircut.
10%, and it does do it right away then. So in this case, Marshall,
Correct.
thank you so much, Marshall, for bringing this up. It's important for everyone to know this, myself included, by the way. So let's say he put in 500,000. Our system right then and there is going to automatically haircut it by 10%.
Yes,
And then
and it
order the
will
people.
give the pre-qualification offers at 450, and then depending on how the BPO comes back, it could go back up to 500. Above 500, it can go below, just depending.
You just answered his next question. So there you go, Marshall. Folks, we are right at time, and I'm happy to say that I think we actually got through all the questions. Can you believe it? Nicely done, team. Listen, everybody, thank you again for attending. Hopefully you continue to find value in these webinars. Alex is going to send up the follow-up like he always does. Oh, wait a minute. We have one more. Casey says, I have a client that has more than 50% equity in their home. However, we only approve them for 78K. Yes, we can call Reef or Alex. Can you write that number down, please?
Sorry.
Yeah. And Casey, myself or someone on the team is going to call you. We have a few minutes, I'm sure, here at this conference. Reef, let's dive into it
Sorry.
and see what's
Take
going
care
on.
of it. We'll reach out, Casey.
Yep. You got it. Again, everybody, thank you. Alex will send out the follow-up, the recording, the link to our YouTube. By the way, great resources on our YouTube channel, great sources on our LinkedIn page. If you're not getting our newsletter, let us know. Let's see if we can get that turned on for you. Great response on our newsletter. Two big reminders. Next week, myself and our Vice President of Lending will be hosting with the Momentum Builder team their standing call on Thursdays. Phenomenal. Alex will send that information out with the follow-up. And then our next webinar, again, is going to be our very own CEO, Michael Tannenbaum. And I'm so excited about this. It's going to be great. So everybody, have a great rest of your week. And let's just keep on doing what we do. Help as many people as you can, everybody. I'll talk to you later.
Great, everyone.
Bye, everyone.